DreAllDay.com. Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. It is in time for an updated version of my trash talk video. So the reason, first of all, let me let y'all know why I'm even doing this video, because most of you probably know, if you follow me anywhere online, you know that I don't play basketball anymore. I stopped playing ball in 2015, but I'm still well connected in that basketball world. But getting into this mental game stuff, trash talk is just part of the game of life, because people talk trash even off the court now we got social media people doing this. So I want to put this video out as an updated version of a video that I put out back in, this had to be 2013, and I got to give a shout out to Virginia, because she's the person who actually, she's a columnist, she's not a basketball player, but she found my video actually because she was writing about trash talk when it comes to like politics in the business world and just the regular world. And she found my video and reached out to me, and we started a dialogue, and she had posted the video on Twitter the other day, and I told her I'd make an updated video, so I'm recording this right now. But anyway, we'll just get into this whole thing about trash talk. And let me give a background for those who don't know that I made the first video about trash talk back in 2013 because a lot of basketball players, this is when I was putting out all basketball material, they said, Dre, how do you deal with trash talk? You know, somebody's talking trash to me on the court, or the fans are talking trash to me out of the stands, or I don't know if I should engage in trash talk with one of my opponents, what should I do? And this is the general rule about trash talk that I give to everyone. Understand that trash talk is like a, what do you call it? It's supplemental. It's like a supplement. It's kind of like people who take supplements for nutrition. That's in addition. The supplement is supplemental. It's additional to the base level things you need to be doing. You want to succeed as a basketball player. Trash talking is not part of being a basketball player. There's only 3 things you need to know about basketball. And this is something I say in my keynotes. Number 1, when you got the ball, score. Put the ball in the basket. That's why it's called basketball. Number 2, stop the other guy when you're on defense. We call that defense. Stop the other guy from scoring. Number 3, if you have more points at the end of the game, you win. All right, nothing about that says anything about trash talk. If you do those 3 things, you'll be successful in basketball. Trash talking is something extra. All right, it's like an accessory. Like this hat that I got on right here, I don't have to wear this. All right, I can still be good without this hat. It's an accessory. It's extra. It's like somebody wear earrings or, you know, a nose ring or jewelry. You don't have to have those to be a normal person in society. It's extra things that you're doing. So if you want to trash talk, it's because you choose to get in that. You do not have to talk trash at all to be a successful basketball player. And I'm sure if you look around long enough or hard enough, you can find some successful athletes, or let's say basketball, who didn't talk trash at all. Tim Duncan's the first person I think of. People say they try to talk trash to Tim Duncan. He would just give him this stone-faced look, and he wouldn't even respond or say anything back to them, and then they just stopped talking to him because he didn't say anything. Was going to get into my first point. All right, now that we got the background out of the way. Trash talk goes back to what you were told back in kindergarten, that just because somebody says something about you does not mean you need to do anything, and you do not need to say anything. As the old saying goes, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Just because somebody said something, you do not need to talk back. You do not need to say something just as nasty to them. You don't need to fight them or anything like that. And technically, somebody says something to you and you beat them up, you are in the wrong. Technically, legally speaking, you be in the wrong for doing something to that person just because they said something to you. So you must, first of all, understand, just remember that you got to be mentally strong enough to remember that just because somebody says something does not mean you need to be triggered to react or respond in any way, shape, or form. And just like Tim Duncan, usually this is what happens is, and I'm going to get to this later in this video, is if you're not giving the energy back to a person who's talking trash to you, you know what usually happens? Excuse me. They stop talking to you because they're not getting any response. They're not getting any energy back. They're not going to keep putting that energy out. That's just the way that the world works. And we're going to get to that in a minute. Now, as I said in my old video back in 2013, when I would talk trash in basketball, at least when I did engage in it, it wasn't usually because I was saying anything about the other guy or the person I was playing against. I was saying something because 2 things. Number 1, I knew usually, and this is how most people are, especially in a competitive arena like sports, usually if I said something to somebody and I was clever enough with what I said, I knew they were going to say something back. They were going to engage. They were going to come back at me. I'd say, man, you're garbage. They would say something, man, you garbage. And then we start going back and forth. And because they gave me energy, Now I could use that energy to channel into my performance. I would use that just to get myself going. So if I was playing in some game that was boring, or maybe there wasn't a lot of fans at the game, or maybe our team was losing, or maybe I just didn't have the right energy, I wasn't as locked in or as focused as I needed to be, I would start talking trash to the guy on the other team, or I'd talk trash to somebody in the crowd. There were games where some dude I'd be playing against, his girlfriend or his wife was in the stands. I started talking trash to the girl. And then the dude, of course, he would say something. And now we got a lot of energy going. Now everybody's looking like, oh, no, he's talking to his girl. Now I got myself engaged. So I would use that for me. It wasn't really for them. I was just using them to get myself hyped up to do what I needed to do in the game. And it was never about the other person. So what you need to think about to kind of reverse psychology this whole thing, if somebody's talking trash to you, they're usually not talking about you. And I talked about this in my book, Work on Your Game, which I actually happen to have right here. I didn't plan this, but I always got my book with me. So if you didn't read this book, Work on Your Game, I talked about this in one of the chapters on mental toughness, that you do not understand that when people are talking about you, they're not really talking about you. They're really talking about themselves in a roundabout way. They're just using you as the canvas on which to paint their own thoughts, their own energies. And because we know human psychology, that usually people take the bait. When they get insulted or attacked in any way verbally, people take the bait and we get into this back and forth. And nowadays, because we have social media, everybody can engage in it, and it just becomes, it's like a sport now. It's basically a sport in itself to do the trash talk. But the point you need to understand is, when somebody else says something about you, you do not need to engage, because it's not about you. It's about them. They just know you're going to react. So if you don't react, you give them something, you give them a pattern interrupt, don't do what they think you're going to do, they're like, damn, this person didn't say anything back to me. Let me go find somebody else to talk trash to, somebody who's going to react. Because if you're not giving them the energy back, again, they're going to stop with the energy. But here's the third point. Now I got 9 things I'm going to point out here, but I'm going to get through these. The third point is this. If somebody started with me when I was playing ball, if somebody started trash talking with me, I didn't say anything to them, I didn't do anything to them, they had no reason to come at me, but they started coming at me. Oh, now at that point, the competitor in me, I mean, I was already a competitor, but the competitor in me would really get woken up. And at that point, I'm going to humiliate you. Now, if you start talking to me and I didn't say nothing to you, I'm going to humiliate you. I'm going to embarrass you. I'm going to make you look bad in front of everybody who has any amount of respect or admiration for you, because you started it. All right. Now, as the saying goes again, you don't start fights, but you finish them. Right. So if somebody started with me, I'm taking them out. And that's still, even to this day, off the court. If somebody starts with me, I'm going to humiliate you, and I'm going to make you regret that you ever even thought about coming at me in the first place. But again, that was just the competitor in me. Maybe you're wired like that, maybe you're not, but I'm just letting you know the way that I thought about it. Next thing, there was, in that video in 2013, I said that they got to a point where I would stop. I wouldn't even start talking trash to people, and I would just play my game, and that usually helped me play better. Well, here's the thing that you need to understand, and this is something that I said earlier. If you're not carrying that energy, if you're not walking around life, this could be on the court or off the court. If you're not walking around life with the energy of confrontation, or the energy of, I want somebody to mess with me so I could do something to them, or the energy of, I'm looking for somebody to mess with so I can prove how tough I am. If you're not carrying that energy, usually the energy doesn't come your way. If you don't invite that to you, a person who's confrontational, a person who's looking for trouble, usually you find trouble and you find confrontation. But if you're not that type of person, those people who are like that, they're not going to come around you, because it's like magnets, right? The energy that we carry attracts other people like us. This is the law of attraction. This is the law of association. How you're carrying yourself is the type of people that you're going to bring around you. So if you're not like that, other people are not going to be like that with you. And you'll find that, again, you can look around in life and see plenty of examples of this. And if somebody does make the mistake of being that type of person around you, they're going to see pretty early that you're not the type of person who engages in that type of energy. They're going to go find somebody else, because it's not even entertaining for them. Now, off the court, trash talk works the exact same way. As I said, usually is the energy is for the person who's doing the trash talk. It's not really about the other person. So when someone says something to you, if you can have the presence, the mental toughness to just not engage in it, usually they'll go find somebody else to talk to, because they're like, all right, I don't get anything from talking to this person. Let me go find somebody else to talk to. That's usually how it works, just generally speaking. But here's the thing, and this is the reason why this video needs to be made, especially for off the court these days. Many people, most of us, and many times, we can't resist taking the bait. Somebody says something about us. We didn't do anything wrong. We think what they're saying is unjustified. We think what they're saying may be unfair, or we may have something we could say back to them that could make them look worse than they're trying to make us look. So what do? We react. We respond. We engage with this person, even though we don't have to react or respond or engage with this person, because we're human and we often can't resist this bait of the back and forth, especially again when we feel like we have the moral high ground. And on top of that, when we have this crowd of people, and on social media there's always a crowd, you got this crowd of people who are egging on the conflict, right? This is like a middle school lunchroom. And all of you went to middle school, right? And somebody says something about another person, and everybody in the lunchroom is like, oh, he said that about you, or she said that. Oh, you gonna let her talk to you like that? You gonna let that happen? Oh, those are fighting words. Or what you gonna do about that? Or whatever people say, but they're hyping it up. They're like, you gonna let that person say what they said, and you're not gonna say nothing back? You're not gonna react? You're not gonna do anything? People hype these things up because we like to see conflict. We like to see people engage with this negative energy. And as the saying goes, negativity spreads a whole lot faster than positivity. We buy into the negative energy. If two people start going at each other on social media or in a basketball game or anywhere else, any other arena, it draws everybody's attention. Everybody's paying attention to it. Everybody's watching it. Why? Because it's just entertaining to watch people go at each other, and you know that they're really trying to tear each other apart. There's an unfortunate part of, it's not about even the world today, it's just a part of human nature. If two people are really being positive and saying positive things about each other, one of the great things about the era that we're in now, as opposed to the era that I grew up in, which was, I think, a lot more confrontational, was that we applaud a whole lot of the positivity. We applaud when people come together and when people bury the hatchet and say positive things about each other. And it's more of a, I don't even know what word to use, what word or phrase to use for it, but more of the positivity, the buddy thing. Like a lot of old school athletes, quote unquote, are saying, well, the sports are too buddy these days, the players are too friendly. That's just the era that we're in, which is a good thing, because again, in the era that I grew up in, let's say the 90s and the early 2000s, that wasn't celebrated or even recognized that much at all. We liked the confrontation. We liked the beef. In hip hop, I mean, we used to hype up the beef. They used to make DVDs just about people having conflict. Whereas these days, that's not really the wave, which is a good thing about these days being these days. But the thing is, a lot of people can't resist the bait of confrontation, even to this very day. Now, still though, you always have the option of handling someone else's negative energy sent your way. You have the option of responding to that with dignity. Meaning, you do not have to engage, you do not have to react, you don't have to say anything back. This is the hardest response for anyone to use, simply because in the moment, our instinct, many of us, not all of us, but many of us, our instinct is to defend ourselves. I mean, if someone attacks you, your instinct is to defend yourself. I mean, I know they say in some religious texts, they say turn the other cheek, right? But most of us don't turn the other cheek. We immediately turn around and we want to do something to that person. You did something to me, I'm going to do something even worse to you, so that you don't even think about, you don't even have the idea of doing what you did ever again. But this dignified response of not engaging is actually the most powerful response, is to not react, not respond at all. It's like Jay-Z said in one of his songs. He said, if you're not feeling me, fine. It costs you nothing. Pay me no mind. And he also mentioned in one of his songs how people take shots at him and he doesn't say anything. He doesn't even react or respond to them. And what happens is, when people used to come at him, I'm talking about Jay-Z when he was actively rapping, they would diss him or say something about him, and people would be hyping it up because this is what people do. Oh, this person said this about Jay-Z. What's Jay-Z going to do? How's Jay-Z going to respond? And Jay-Z wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't engage. He wouldn't acknowledge it. He wouldn't say anything at all. And eventually, you know what happened? And in a very short period of time, it would just go away. People would forget about it. Nobody would talk about it. Jay-Z wouldn't talk about it. And the person who dissed him, they would just fade into oblivion. Nobody would care. It would just immediately go away because he didn't give it any energy. And eventually people forgot about it. And in a short period of time, eventually people forgot about it. So this is, again, the most powerful response, when you don't even engage with people who you think are, if someone's beneath you or they're not on your level, or you think they're just like trolling you, that's the thing we call it now, and they're just not even worth the energy. What you got to do is actually live that out. They're not worth the energy. They're beneath you. They're not at your level. So treat them like that. How would you treat, if an elephant is out there and there's a mouse running around, what does the elephant do or the lion do? They play around with the mouse. They don't get mad at the mouse. They don't argue with the mouse. They don't try to bring all their best energy to kill the mouse because it's a little mouse. If you were to give all that energy to the mouse and you're a lion, what do you look like? Even if you win, even if you destroy the mouse, people are like, yeah, you destroyed the mouse, but it was a mouse. So you, as the bigger person, if you see yourself as the bigger person, you just have to have enough mental toughness for a very short period of time to ignore the energy of the person who said it, the energy of the people who are trying to hype it up because they want to see a conflict, they want some entertainment. And in a short period of time, everything's going to go. The person who said it's going to go away, they're going to go find a new target or say nothing. Everybody who was hyping it up is going to stop hyping it because they see that hyping it up is not getting them anything. And you're going to look like the bigger person that you actually are. But as the saying goes, also, the flip side of that is that don't argue with fools because people from a distance can't tell who is who. So if you get to arguing with a person that you think is beneath you, for the moment that you are engaged with that person, you and them are equals because you decided to engage with that individual. And we see this a lot these days, especially on something like social media, in the captions or on Twitter or in the comment section on somewhere like YouTube or wherever you may engage online. People think that they at least say that I'm on a higher level than this person, I'm bigger than this person, I'm not going to go down to the level that this person is at. But eventually, you can't resist the bait, and then you get into going at the same level with them, and now you look just like them because you're doing the same things that you said made them small. Now you're doing the exact same thing. So the mental toughness, again, it doesn't take, you don't have to have mental toughness for 10 years. Just a short period of time, that person and that energy will go away if you can resist the bait, which is a very tough bait for any human being to resist, especially those of you who feel like you're good with words, or you feel like you're really smart, or you feel like you're very accomplished, or you feel like you are at a higher level than the person who's talking about you. It's really hard to ignore that. But that's the challenge, and that's why this video is actually needed. So, last two things. If you do engage, because listen, let's keep it real, you're going to engage. Somebody's going to say something about you at some point in your future, and you're going to feel like this person's out of their mind saying something about me, and you're going to engage, you're going to respond, you're going to say something back, you're going to do something. Let me tell you how to do that. If you're going to get involved, there's an art to this, okay? Make sure that you silence that person in such a way that they can't come back, that they can't say anything back, that there is no more engagement, that your response is the final statement, is the last word in the whole engagement. Now, how exactly do you do this? Well, I'll just give you a parallel in playing sports. In sports, we had a scoreboard. That scoreboard up there was the ruler of all. But you could say whatever you say, they could say what they say, you could have your opinion, I got my opinion. But at the end of the night, we're going to look up at that scoreboard and somebody won and somebody lost. Now, if you lost, you can't still be talking because on the scoreboard, we can see it. All right, and that's it. So the thing in sports was you wanted to perform at such a level or say something at such a level, and your performance was your actual statement, that nobody could say, all right, well, I still think I'm better than him, or my team's better than that team, or whatever negative thing they were saying about you. If you won the game, there's nothing they could say. Game over. Done. Period. Nothing else that could be said by that person or by anybody else out there because you won the game. And that's the great thing about sports. And that's why in sports we always, when people are arguing, they default to, well, who got more championships, who won more games, because the scoreboard has the final say in everything. The thing is, in life, we don't all have the same scoreboard. For some people, it's having fans. For some people, it's getting retweets and followers. For some people, it's making money. For some people, it's just how they feel personally about themselves. For some people, it's having a great family. So we all have these different things that matter to us, and we change things. We move the goalposts. We change what our scoreboards are. So you have to really have the performance skills and whatever it is that you're engaging with this other person. And if you decide to engage, and the communication skills, that if you decide to speak and perform, or one or the other, that whatever you say or whatever you do, they can't come back to it. And let me give you a hint with this. When you respond to a person and you want to end the whole thing with your response, one thing that you should not do is personally insult that person. If they personally insulted you or came at you, usually the initial instinct reaction is to come back with the exact same thing. Don't do that, because if you do that, you personally insult another person, or you try to ridicule them or say something negative about them, they are probably going to react and say something back about you. Even if what you said is based in truth or you think is truth, all right, Are they going to take it that way? Probably not. They're going to react. They're going to respond. Now you're just fueling the fire. It's going to keep going back and forth. Your goal is to end the whole thing so that you got the last word, you made the last action, and nobody can say anything back. So don't be insulting towards that person. Don't try to ridicule that person. Say something that handles what they said, establishes you as the bigger person or the better performer or the whatever it is that makes you bigger or better than that person that you believe, and that they can't say anything back. You might need to think about this one a little bit. You might need to hire a strategist or consult with somebody who's really good at these type of things that will help you put it into it with a period, into your statement with whatever it is that you do. That is the most powerful way to end things. In sports, for example, let's say two players were trash talking to each other, but their teams are playing against each other in the NBA Finals, and your team wins the NBA Finals 4-0. Well, you don't have to say anything about that guy who was trash talking you because you just beat him 4-0. Or I remember Michael Jordan, his 96 season, they were going against the Sixers. Jerry Stackhouse, who was on the Sixers at the time, had said in the media, well, I want to go against Jordan because I played him one-on-one in the offseason and I was beating him. Allegedly, this is what Jerry Stackhouse said. He was beating Jordan. Jordan didn't say anything. They went to play the Sixers. Jordan had 48 points. Jerry Stackhouse had 6 points in the game. 6. Michael Jordan had 48. The Bulls won, blew the Sixers out. Jordan didn't say anything. He didn't have to post anything on Instagram. Wasn't no Instagram back then. But you get the point that I'm saying. He ended it with that statement. That game was the statement. He didn't have to say anything else. Jerry Stackhouse never said anything else. And that was the end of the whole conversation. You need to figure out how to do the same thing if you're not an athlete. You need to figure out how to do the same thing in your life so that nobody can say anything back. And the last thing is, and this is kind of what I just talked about, this is your performance and communication challenge. If somebody's challenging you, attacking you in some negative way, your performance and your communication need to make it clear to everyone who's watching and to that person that I'm at a level above you and I do not need to go back and forth with you, because then you fill in the blank with whatever makes you a level above them and whatever makes you too big to go back and forth with that person in such a way that not only do you believe it, but they got to believe it. And that they're like, that when they're thinking about it behind closed doors, they're like, all right, I can't say anything back to it. I can't go at this person. Let me go find somebody else to go at. Jerry Stackhouse, I don't know what his conversation was after that game with Jordan giving him 48, but he said, all right, let me go trash talk to somebody else, because obviously this ain't the guy to talk about. This ain't the guy to attack in the newspapers because what just happened in that game. That's what you need to figure out how to do with your opponent. And it may not always be so cut and dry, but that's why it's a challenge. And that's why I had to make this video. So this video is a lot longer than the original one that I did, but I wanted to make sure I hit every point. So hopefully I've addressed every possible question when it comes to trash talking, when it comes to people ridiculing you, attacking you, especially in a public forum. Usually we react because it's public, because we know what other people are thinking in our egos, etc., etc. Any questions? Y'all know what to do, and leave them in the comments. Work on your game. And oh yeah, if you haven't read my book, Work on Your Game, Use a Pro Athlete Mindset to Dominate Your Game in Business, Sports, and Life. This is not a basketball book. This is a book that takes the experience of a professional basketball player and tells you how it applies to business, sports, and life, because I'm also a business owner, entrepreneur, been one for 10 years. That's what this book is about. If you don't have it, go to workonyourgamebook.com. It's also on Amazon, but at workonyourgamebook.com, I'll offer you some bonuses that Amazon can't give you because they ain't got them. I got them. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.